The problem is that most guys approach a hug as if they're checking a box on a social to-do list. They treat it like a polite handshake, mechanical, brief, and completely devoid of any real presence. To them, it's just a way to say hello or goodbye without being awkward, but that's exactly why it feels forgettable. When you rush through a hug or keep it safe and stiff, you aren't just being polite. You're telling her through your body language that you're either nervous, disinterested, or just another platonic friend in the crowd. In reality, a hug is far more than a simple greeting. It is a direct, silent dialogue with her nervous system. Within those few seconds of physical contact, her subconscious mind is working at lightning speed, processing a mountain of data about who you are. She isn't thinking about it logically, but her body is reading your pressure, your stillness, and your confidence. She is instantly sensing whether you feel like a source of safety or a source of tension. If your touch is hesitant or clumsy, you're signaling doubt, which lands you straight in the just a friend category. However, when you master the subtle mechanics of touch, the entire dynamic shifts. You stop being a background character and become someone who commands attention without saying a single word. By understanding how to hold space and communicate intent through your frame, you create an emotional anchor that stays with her long after you've stepped away. It's the difference between a throwaway gesture and a magnetic moment that she'll find herself replaying later. To make that happen, you have to move past the polite basics and learn the 4 specific rules that turn an average hug into a powerful, lasting connection. The most common mistake men make during a hug is the infamous friend zone pat on the upper back. While it feels safe or polite, that quick rhythmic tapping is actually a subconscious signal of platonic energy. It's the same way you'd greet a teammate or a relative. It creates distance rather than connection because it feels rushed and jittery. To move past that and communicate a grounded masculine presence, you have to be intentional about where your hands land. Instead of reaching for the shoulders or the mid-back, aim for the small of her back, just above the tailbone. This simple shift in placement changes the entire context of the interaction from casual to significant. This isn't about being aggressive or overly bold. It's actually rooted in neurology. The lower back is a sensitive biological zone associated with stability, support, and protection. When your palm rests there with a firm, steady pressure, it sends a direct message to her nervous system that you are composed and confident. Unlike the upper back, which feels functional, the lower back requires a level of trust and intimacy. When you place your hand there with calm certainty, you aren't asking for her attention. You are naturally commanding it. It bypasses her logical, judging brain and speaks directly to her feelings of safety and attraction. By choosing this specific location, you are making a silent declaration of leadership without having to say a single word. It shows that you are comfortable in your own skin and, by extension, comfortable holding space for her. A soft or hesitant touch feels like you're seeking permission, but a firm anchor on the lower back signals that you are present and in control of the moment. This small adjustment transforms a standard hug into a powerful nonverbal cue, making her feel physically and emotionally secure in your frame. It's the difference between being a nice guy who is just passing through and a man who leaves a lasting, confident impression. The second mistake many men make is being hesitant or floppy during the embrace, which instantly kills the vibe. When you hug with loose arms or a retreating posture, it feels like you're unsure of yourself, or worse, like you're waiting for her to tell you it's okay to be there. This lack of conviction signals doubt, and doubt is the ultimate attraction killer. Instead, you need to provide what's called unwavering containment. This isn't about being aggressive or squeezing her tightly. That just feels restrictive and uncomfortable. True containment is about creating a solid, reliable frame with your body. It's the difference between a flimsy fence and a sturdy wall. One feels like it might fall over, while the other feels like something you can actually lean on. When she steps into your space, she should feel briefly but completely enclosed by your physical presence. This sensation of being held by a steady, even pressure triggers a profound response in the female nervous system. When your frame is solid and unmoving, her body interprets that stability as safety. It's a biological green light that tells her she can let her guard down. This is where the magic happens. The moment she feels physically secure in your arms, her brain stops scanning for threats or awkwardness and starts building trust. That feeling of safety is the foundation of emotional attachment. By providing this steady containment, you aren't just giving a hug, you're creating an environment where she feels protected and centered. It communicates that you are a man who is comfortable with his own strength and, more importantly, a man who knows how to use that strength to provide comfort rather than pressure. When a woman feels like she can literally relax into your frame, the connection shifts from a surface-level social gesture to a deep, subconscious bond. You aren't asking for permission to be there. You are providing a space that she actually wants to stay in. Timing is the invisible line between a polite social greeting and a genuine romantic spark. Most guys treat a hug like a race to the finish line, pulling away after just a second or two because they're afraid of overstaying their welcome or making things awkward. But that quick, jerky motion actually creates tension rather than connection. It signals that you're nervous or uncomfortable in her space. A 2-second hug is just a formality. It's what you do with a coworker or a distant cousin. To move into a deeper territory, you have to master what's called the 6-second shift. This isn't just a random number, it's the specific window of time where a physical interaction transitions from a surface-level gesture into a chemical event. When you hold an embrace for 5 to 7 seconds, something profound happens inside the body. The brain begins to release oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone or the cuddle chemical. This natural surge helps the nervous system soften and lowers cortisol, the hormone responsible for stress. By staying present for those few extra seconds, you are literally changing her internal chemistry. It allows her body to sync up with yours, her breathing to slow down, and her guard to drop. Most men miss this entirely because they let their own anxiety cut the moment short. But the man who can remain calmly present during that extended beat is the one who feels different from everyone else. Confidence doesn't live in what you say during the hug. It lives in the silence of that extra pause. By not rushing to pull away, you're communicating that you are comfortable with intimacy and that you aren't intimidated by the tension of the moment. This is where the outside world starts to blur out and the casual nature of the touch evaporates, replacing it with a sense of safety and deep emotional memory. When you allow the moment to settle rather than snapping out of it, you transform a forgettable hug into a heavy, meaningful experience that she will feel in her bones long after you've stepped away. The final rule is perhaps the most overlooked, yet it's the one that ensures you stay on her mind long after the interaction ends. Most men think the hug is over the second they decide to let go, so they abruptly drop their arms and step back as if they've just finished a chore. This sudden break in contact is jarring. It instantly breaks the spell and resets the emotional energy to zero. If you want to be unforgettable, you have to understand that the release is just as important as the hold itself. Instead of a clean break, you want to create a slow, intentional transition that tapers off naturally. It should feel less like a hard stop and more like a fading melody. As you begin to separate and create space, don't just vanish. Instead, let your hand trail slowly down her arm or allow your fingertips to lightly brush against her shoulder or the side of her neck as you pull away. This creates what's known as a sensory echo. Because the nerves on the arms and neck are incredibly sensitive, that faint, final touch sends one last pulse to her brain, recording the moment into her physical memory. It's a soft, nonverbal whisper that communicates care and a touch of dominance, making the entire embrace feel intentional rather than accidental. By slowing down the exit, you are showing that you aren't in a rush to leave her presence, which is a massive signal of high-value confidence. This lingering contact creates a feeling that the interaction is unfinished in the best possible way. She won't necessarily sit down and analyze the physics of your hand placement, but she will feel a phantom sensation on her skin where you just touched her. That lingering warmth creates a subconscious craving to return to that state of safety and connection. When you master the release, you don't just leave her with a goodbye. You leave her with a physical memory that her mind will replay over and over. You've successfully turned a standard social gesture into a magnetic emotional key that makes her want to experience that feeling again.